Hello, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome for our first Global CharIN Tuesday in a good and successful row of Tuesdays we had so far. Yeah, it's an honor for me to moderate one of the Tuesdays today. We started with the US part, and then we go across Europe to Asia, and had a lot of good discussions and a lot of Tuesdays. And also tomorrow in the steering committee, I guess we will confirm and remandate this Tuesday format to exchange knowledge, to get different views on board, and especially today, for me personally, after 5 years involved in the CharIN Association as a managing director, I'm quite happy to see first participants from marine industry, from air, from sea, and also from investment companies. And it's a quite interesting Tuesday, I guess, and looking forward to that. But first of all, I would welcome you again, and as the first speaker, I will give the welcome words and a couple of showback slides where CharIN started, where we are right now, and what the development is, to Klaas Baklo, our chairman and member of the board. I'm happy to have you here, Klaas, and yeah, welcome everybody, and the participants or the speakers, the other speakers, also for the Q&A session at the end, I will introduce you to them after the welcome note of Klaas Baklo.
Okay, thank you, Andre, for your introduction, and thanks for dialing in. I know that there are a lot of opportunities for dialing in something, but it costs a tremendous amount of time. Hopefully you enjoy our series of today. It's number 10 of the CharIN Tuesdays, and I would like just to start into a couple of slides showing our activities within CharIN, and so that is our history. So I do not know if the bulbs are getting bigger in time, but from the early stages in 2015, so we have been quite successful in growth rate, and our target is the cross-industry approach, and that is really unique in the world, and to have that on a global base, that is a nice challenge, but a success from my side to have different perspectives from different areas. And as we are scheduling for being local at local, so we have a couple of international representatives in the different regions of the world. They keep for getting subjects aligned in those regions, coming back to the global organization, and that is sometimes it's a fight between the regions, but at the end, so we are all working on the same approach of growing electromobility and support that by the knowledge of our association. If you go to the next slide, I keep it a bit short. If any questions are coming up, please send that over. And that is an interesting picture for me to show the variety of industries within our association, which is going from semiconductors to software to energy. The car has been in the center of the perspective, but that is just a participant. It's a powerful participant, but it's a part of the complete game. And the interesting story is nobody can live with the other, and that ties us together on the international share. So we planned to have 1/3 members per region. Currently, we are lucky with Europe to have that almost done. We integrated a lot of companies within CharIN, and there are more to come. And as the growth rate of electromobility is steepest in Europe by far, and also ahead of China, so that reflects the current activities in the world regions, and hopefully we will come to our vision of having a share of 3 at 1/3 in each region. So if we transfer that to some nice pictures on the next slide, which is going to be transferred hopefully now. It's probably my computer, so the pictures are a bit late. Any hint from organization? Is the new slide available for everybody?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
now it's visible.
Okay, I see that, and I roughly flip through. That gives you a bit of impression about the membership base, core members having 112 and regular members 96. And so I would emphasize on the partnerships we have with different organizations worldwide. We are cooperating with the norming institutes, with international associations like CEPA in the US or AVERE in Europe. So we have alliances with the organizations in the ASEAN 10 countries, from Thailand, Indonesia, and India, the Energy Institute. And that makes us strong to understand what happens in the different regions of the world and where's the need. And by support of our managing director, so we have a close contact to the governments and national bodies, and that is all going back to CharIN and gives us a perspective on future growth. I'm waiting for the next slide. Okay, that is what I meant. And that grows currently to the supportership of 20, and that is still growing. And there is no real interaction and participation in focus group, but that is a regular exchange of needs of that regions and the industry on site. And that is quite flexible, as there's no obligation behind then mutual agreement to drive electromobility and charging forward. And I already mentioned the cooperation with the norming bodies, and we increased that to SAE and others, and we have a lot of MOUs currently in preparation. And as CharIN is growing, that is attractive to both partners to interact a bit more professionally on communicating on electromobility. So that is our setting. To see there are some faces behind. So we have, in principle, a fair share between male and female. Nothing to say about where they are coming from, and that is our current setting. And we are in consideration how to play in South America, as that region is coming also on top of the market. And with our strategy, we just follow the market development. So as soon as we have industry partners in that area, so we are configuring a setup which works for that region. So as a quick speaker, I have my problem in waiting for the next slide. Okay, that is some of our activities we have in North America. So we set up a North American board that is a group of 5 CharIN members who are aligning the subjects of North America. We have regular calls with them. And those are the original inventors of the CharIN Tuesdays, because we wanted to have the conference setting as we have been used to, as face-to-face have done. Corona hit us all. And they brought up the idea, let's split the conference into 3 sessions and do it virtually. And that is part 1 of the story. We are today at part number 10. In Europe, we opened an office in Brussels, so we could gain Olivier Patori, who is very experienced in the EV scene, to give us a voice and a face in Europe. And there's heavily activity currently in Europe, so that is post-corona packages. There's billions and hundreds of billions euros coming to the table, and the Commission is looking for a good infrastructure project alignment. And so we give that support, as we have a lot of different perspectives from different industries, and that is a value to the Commission, and hopefully we can influence some of those regulations or directives who are on the table now, and that is all going into a seamless charging process to make charging easy for the European inhabitants. And we have a close cooperation with AVERE, the European EV Association. In Asia, that is a bit of a fragmented market. We see it in the flag. So we have India, Korea, New Zealand, Singapore, Japan. And in that region, so we are doing some groundwork, playing on almost every conference and spreading the voice of CharIN and the capabilities the combined charging system. So the next, that is our format. Here we are today, December the 1st. That is our CharEV Global setting. We put all the other Tuesdays to the best fitting times in those regions. For the global one, we look for having something acceptable. As today, somebody has to get up early and the other has to go to bed late, but that is a fitting principle for almost all. But that is not customized with regional aspect. That is more to giving messages for the global approaches. And today we will see as Andre mentioned, new industries coming onto the market on charging systems. We will have a focus on megawatt charging next week, and the customer journey, which has been originated for customer sakes within CharIN, is going to be shown in 2 weeks. We have some live videos, and that seems to be very fascinating for me. And hopefully we see you all in one of those coming events. So that is what happens next year. And so we hopefully come back to live events. So that was the festival, which has been very well recognized from our members to bring products and people together. The last we had was we had one in Korea, we had one in the US, and we had one at ELAT, and the response was so positive that, okay, that is a significant portion of the CharIN organization. We will have that hopefully in April if travel is possible. So everybody's invited to register. Books are open. We have 10 registrations already. Hopefully we can perform that. Same for the Newark, California festival in June. Heard from some American colleagues, so they are in home office till June. Hopefully that can happen. And Asia in Korea will be done in September. And in parallel, that is a new thing coming out from the pandemic that we are planning for a CharIN virtual trade fair. So that is not possible as we are used to in the format of the EVS. So we will do that virtually because we have no other choice. And the trade fair is almost a thing to bring people and products together. And gratefully, so I'm in the board of the EVS 35 in Oslo over next year, and that will definitely happen. And so we are currently shaping that electric vehicle symposium also with respect to changed situation. So next is just the announcement for the CharIN festival. So we do it at different places with different partners. At this time, Comenso from South Germany offered their facilities, so you see a small plane there. We hopefully get that. We will have trucks, and that seems to be attractive to our members to bring their products. And we are currently working on having a fair setup, and unfortunately the commitment is not easy to make it now to be participating at that event. Everybody is looking on the Corona charts already. Okay, that is the CharINization time. That is just a small outlook on the subjects of interesting. So we are still on the one charging system for all purposes. The interoperability by using the ISO 15118 communication protocol is something which has a great influence on our current work and causes a lot of work. The customer comfort features, which is plug and charge and automated conductive charging, is one of the focus. And that is a picture of the reality. So if the customer is satisfied by ordinary charging, so which is coming by the growing number of charging pillars, the customer will expect more comfort doing that, and that is one of our focus. We are leading a German funding project to improve the quality of charging for the customer. So that goes all in the direction of customer interaction and quality. We are just creating an ecosystem for the public key infrastructure, so which is necessary on the one hand for plug and charge, and in future for V2G functionality. That was nice because that was an initiative from our members. Okay, so we have a lot of activities seen around for building the trust center of certificates, and who could be able to do that. It must be a neutral organization with a broad cross-industry perspective, and so we are sure that CharIN can supply that to the industry, and so that we enable business around that and hosting the governance and the keys without making any business out of that, as an association is purpose to. The megawatt charging system has been evaluated in end of September at the NREL Labs in North America. So we experience on the form factor and on the usability from the customer side. All that is going currently in different standardization bodies, and hopefully we will lead that to a single technology for the complete market from China, Japan to rest of the world. It's already aligned between Europe and North America, and via the standardization process, the other areas are involved. And as the volume is low for that technology, it does not make any sense to go into competition, and that is a mutual agreement between the Chinese, Japanese, and us. And on the right side, there are some attached activities, including V2G and intelligent load management. So, not put too much time, but 1 or 2 slides more. So that is again, the experience know that. So that is our scope. Now we enhance that to the megawatt charging system, which is specified for 3 kiloamps and 1,500 volts. And still we are on the same setting, making a lot of reuse of things we already did, and that is suitable from AC to DC and from 3.6 kilowatts to more than megawatt. The extended functionality goes currently in the direction of V2G and plug and charge. We still continue our setup in the regions, and the scope of application, as we said when we founded CharIN, so that is for all kinds of mobility. And I'm happy to have some partners today in the CharIN Tuesdays in operation. We are already working on making that technology on the upper left available to all kinds of mobility, and then that saves us money, brings quality up, and that is for all of our sake to have a unified technology on that. And that is hopefully my last slide before I can hand over to the next presenters. There's just an overview about the capability of the combined charging system and the ISO 15118. So we are collecting errors by time and functionality, and so as some others are around still working to implement a few features, so we are already in the King discipline to complete the portfolio, including all kinds of charging, and that goes to bi-directional and security features and all the others we need. So I assume we are completely on track, looking how the others are following, and that we can offer our CharIN members a complete set of needed technology. And if that has been my last slide, I can hand over to the real program. I thank you for dialing in, and I'm really curious about the presentations I see today. So I'm going into the listen mode. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you very much, Klaas, for that brief introduction of CharIN. And yeah, when you listen to that and you are involved in this CharIN story, it's really like a very good time when we started with passenger cars focus, and then quite soon enlarged it to, with the MCS system, like Klaas explained, to truck and bus and questions around that market. And it's quite nice and an honor to me to present our panelists, because they are coming from, in this order on this slide, from investment insurance companies, from sea and from air, let's say in that way. And yeah, I'm happy to present that and guide you through. So the next speaker is Edward Skiveras from Damen Shipyard. and he will bring us an inside view or a perspective into that CharIN Tuesday from a shipyard company. How is electric ship charging? What is the perspective of a shipyard? Edward is a research engineer at Damen Shipyard, focusing on electrical and automation systems, joined Damen in 2016 after a PhD in electrical engineering at Newcastle University, and has a solid background in energy management and electric system modeling. So Edward, the stage is yours. I'm also like Lars and maybe a lot of other CharIN members, which are more focused on passenger cars, trucks, buses, quite looking forward to get an inside view on the electric ship business. So please proceed.
Okay, thanks for the introduction, Andre. As Andre said, I am Edward from Damen Shipyards as a research engineer. And in these 10 minutes, I'd like to give an intro as to kind of what is the electric ship background, how we approach charging at Damen Shipyards, and in the end to try and give some numbers as to what we are dealing with. Next slide, please. So first up, who is Damen? Damen Shipyards is a Dutch shipbuilding group. It's a family-owned company established more than 90 years ago, still with its headquarters here in the Netherlands, but with a global presence. So we're about 10,000 people worldwide in about 35 different locations. One of the aspects of Damen Shipyards is that we focus quite a lot on standardization, that is standard modules in standard products, and not mass production, but serious production of vessels. And that is something which can be sometimes not that common in the marine industry. So in this picture here, you see a number of different vessels being built in a series at the same yard and at the same time. And that's the approach we'd also like to take now towards electric ship charging, which is perhaps somewhat more of a newcomer to the industry. Next slide, please. So if I introduce a bit the portfolio of Damen Shipyards has a very broad portfolio of products going from smaller tugs to naval vessels, yachts, and others in between. In the marine industry, electric propulsion is not new. Quite a number of ships are being built and have been built with electric propulsion. All these ships on this slide are all with electric propulsion. What is new is full electric vessels, especially at a larger scale. And those are the three ships which are in highlight in this slide, with the tug, ferries, and the smaller water bus. And that is where, let's say, the innovation is lying. And in this slide, I'd like to kind of then focus more on these three ships and how the charging infrastructure lies with the shipyard, let's say. Next slide, please. So from a marine point of view, we also talk of the shore connection more than only the shore charging. You can approach the shore connection from two ways. One is connection to charge batteries, and that's perhaps more familiar to the EV charging world. But also we use shore connection to turn off generators when in port. And that is especially addressed by a relatively new standard of IEC 80005, the complete series for low voltage to high voltage. We did that for shore charging, especially if we're looking at DC applications. And there are some other variables which need to come on top of these requirements. So first up is, let's say, what are the energy transfer requirements? That's our design space. What power and how much time? What is the onboard system like? Is it AC? Is it DC? High voltage or low voltage? It's worth pointing out that there isn't one single standard system for onboard power systems, although we do see quite a trend for DC becoming much more commonplace on electric ships. What about the connector? Is it automated? Is it manual? The connection AC? Is it DC, high voltage or low voltage? That's all it's all available for our design choice, let's say. So I want to now focus on these three electric ships which we are currently building or are in operation, just to give some more context to what are the numbers we are talking about. Next slide, please. Can we have the next slide, Ariane? Yeah. So in this context, we can say that the shore connection for marine business is quite broad. There's quite a lot of options available on what can be connected and the design choices available to us. And we see that from smaller ships up to much larger vessels, let's say. Some of the commonality and reuse can be put in place, but there's still quite a number of design-specific requirements. And in the next slide, we can see the smaller water bus ships, which we have been, or which are already in operation. Yeah, and these are a set of relatively small vessels. Can you keep on the previous one, please? Thank you. These are in operation already in the inner city of Copenhagen. They've been delivered over the past year. It's a small passenger ferry carrying about 80 people, 300 kilowatt hours or so of batteries installed on board. And throughout the route, there's two 600 kilowatt automated opportunity chargers. This is quite time critical for operations. So here we've got an automated charging pin, which comes out from the pontoon and locks on the vessel itself. So this is perhaps the more familiar to the EV world. We have batteries connected directly to the DC bus, and the whole philosophy is very similar to EV charging indeed. Next slide, please. So then if we keep the same size package, but getting a bit more power dense, we can look at, for example, an electric tug. So this vessel is still being built and will be delivered in the next year or two. Here, in roughly the same length of ship, we have about 2.8 megawatt hours of batteries installed. It's a lot more power dense. Because of this power density, we also use a 1000-volt DC system with a fixed bus. So that means that we have DC-DC converters between the batteries and the power distribution. We have about a 1.5 megawatt shore connection to charge these batteries. And in this case, we have a manual shore connection that the cables are manually connected to the ship in order to charge. So in this application, let's say it is not required to have opportunity charging, but it is more, let's say, at the end of a job that the tug can be charged. And next slide, please. What we'll see in the next slide is, let's say, taking this similar system to a larger scale. So these are now road ferries being built for Ontario. The largest vessel is 98 meters in length, and we have about 4 megawatt hours of batteries installed. Again, with a 1000-volt DC system with a fixed bus and about 3 megawatt charging during the trip. Again, this is quite time-critical operation, so we have an automated connection where an arm from the shore brings in a plug into a receptacle at the bow of the vessel. This is also quite similar to a lot of electric ships which are already in operation in Nordic countries, already crossing the fjords, for example, built by other shipyards, with a very similar topology and similar power levels, let's say. Next slide, please. Thank you. What I would have liked to show in these couple of ships is that we have quite a lot of variety of power requirements as well as topologies. That for us, all these vessels are with a similar philosophy of full electric operation. Diesel engines are not used in their regular sailing, but there is quite some differences in their requirements. And for a shipyard, this is interesting because now we are also being concerned with the shore charging and with the shore infrastructure. Can we have the next slide, please? Yeah, and what that brings about challenges is, or at least points to of attention, then we look at the grid integration. That is not something which a shipyard is typically concerned with, but now we see this becoming part of the scope that the ship and of course the shore charging installation is part of perhaps a smart grid. Same as the connector. The connector, we see a lot of variability in the types available and what is required. What are the tidal ranges? What is the degrees of motion of the ships? So now we're of course talking developing of sometimes significant three-dimensional motions. How much power is required to be put through is to be automated or manual. That also has an impact on the reliability of the whole charging infrastructure. So a lot of these chips are quite critical for operations for lifeline communities, for example. So it is very important that a reliable charging system is done at a high percentage of the time. And that's also related to the communications. Communication also needs to be reliable and robust. And of course, all of this is now fitting in a marine environment. Of course, there's water and electricity are typically not the best friends. So we need to ensure that this is all ensured in a safe connection. So in a safe environment and in a safe setup. Yeah, we go to the next slide. We can sum up a bit with how we see it going forward. There is, of course, the trend is for more for less, more power in less time, more energy transfer for the same, let's say, usability. We see that full electric applications are only increasing, and this pushes challenges towards the limits, especially if we look at smaller vessels where weight is very important. It sometimes limits what is possible in terms of the charging infrastructure and the charging options. But we see this as a good challenge going forward as to what we can do with electrification. And there we see that standardization is quite a key to reusability of charging infrastructure and in turn for leading forward in full electric vessels. So yeah, I hope that it's given you an overview of what we see as electric ships and their charging requirements, and hope it can trigger some ideas and indeed build synergies on possible cross-pollinations. So thanks for your attention.
Thank you very much, Edward, for that interesting inside view. And maybe before we start with the first question from audience, just the information to all listeners. There will be a panel discussion after our keynotes and after our speakers presented their content. And there will be also the possibility to raise questions. Please use the chat function for doing so. We will collect all the questions, and even if we don't find the time within this CharIN Tuesday, we will answer it after the Tuesday out of the CharIN context. There's a first question. If the automated charging solution presented by Damen is part of the ACD solutions CharIN is on the roadmap. Maybe I can answer, because Damen so far is not a member of CharIN. I know that there are some discussions and joint ways of cooperation are going forward. Generally, we don't have, as CharIN, a single system on the roadmap. There is a dedicated group which is considering different solutions, and the idea is to form requirements in that group. Like Edward said, standardization is the key to do so, and if you want to do standardization, you need to align the requirements. What is the requirement? And yeah, hopefully we can integrate Damen and give the opportunity to Damen and to Edward to participate in that group, and to give the specialties, I'm quite sure, which are there from the marine and harbor port charging into that group as well, and also give the opportunity to take the lessons learned from the passenger car standardization, which also took some while, and to transfer that into other industries. And that's exactly the idea from my point of view for CharIN, to do this cross-industry and cross-market alignment. So thanks for the question. Thank you, Edward, for your interesting inside view. And I like to move forward to our next speaker, which is Emma Snark from Lilium. I guess Ariane has some problems with the slides due to internet connection. So Emma is a charging manager for ground infrastructure from Lilium, and has a solid background in charging business with Tesla, and was program manager for the AC charging program, and also involved in the supercharger project development in the Benelux states. So welcome, Emma, and we are quite looking forward to get the inside view how to bring electrified vehicles into air. And the stage is yours. Please proceed.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me okay. Let me kick off with explaining the term eVTOL, being electric vertical takeoff and landing. And what I want to discuss today is start with an introduction of the company Lilium, and then raise really the challenges and opportunities for eVTOL charging. The aim for me for today would be to bridge between the automotive industry and the eVTOL industry, and really to raise this as an opportunity for the audience to see how we can apply, but also expand the current knowledge and applications really that are present in the automotive industry and within CharIN already. As a small disclaimer, I will not be able to disclose a lot of detailed and confidential specifications, unfortunately. And for the FG Connection members, there might be some slides that they have already seen in a previous session there. If we can go to the next slide, please. We see Lilium's goals. Lilium has set out to solve the 3 biggest problems faced by mobility. And regarding the first one, emissions, I don't need to explain this one to this audience, I think. Travel times, this is a bit 2 ways. One would be to shorten travel times for the same distance. The other one would be to have the same travel time, but to really expand the range or the distance that you can travel within that time. And then the third one is an important one compared to the automotive industry, being infrastructure. For traveling from A to B by road or by rail, you usually need to connect A and B, which has a significant impact on the environment, but also is quite a big challenge in terms of investment and in terms of time to establish this connection. Next slide, please. So on the next slide, we see how Lilium will solve these 3 challenges by means of a high-speed regional transportation service. Emphasizing the regional character here, because the urban air taxi is a concept that we frequently nowadays hear. Lilium has a bit of a different goal, being really not within the city, so the taxi concept of short distances. Lilium really aims at the somewhat longer distances, so as stated here, connecting cities and regions of 50 kilometers to 300 kilometers apart. And then the cool thing is that we do not need to connect the infrastructure here. And how to achieve those time wins, and critical element there is to make sure that the vertiports, so the point A and point B, are conveniently strategically located so that they're well connected to other modes of transport, and this way making sure that the first and last mile of the journey is also been accounted for and has a smooth process. And then once you arrive at the vertiport, of course, a seamless and quick check-in and embarking is critical. So this is also something really important to the full service that we will be launching. And then once actually the aircraft has taken off, there's a top speed of 300 kilometers per hour. So this really leverage or makes that you can travel super fast across these distances. And then what is a unique element of Lilium within the other eVTOL manufacturers is that we will not just be having the design and the manufacturing in our scope, but we also really bring it to the customer, so we commercialize it, meaning that we will build a digital platform for our customers to directly book a flight, but also to build and to expand this infrastructure. So really build networks, and I will show you a slide on that in a bit. For now, I want to show a video. So Ariana, if you can make that happen, that would be great. In this video, we will see our flight test, so our prototype in flight. if you could pause for 1 second. Great, thank you so much. We just practiced and it's not able, we are not able to move down or turn down the volume, so I'll just be pausing the video for a bit to indicate. You see those small sort of half circle shaped things on our wings. Those are those are 36 small ducted fans or small engines, which allow and point downwards when we take off. And you see that at this point in the movie, they start to tilt and therefore go into a horizontal position. And with that, we will be able to really have efficient, longer range flights. So we can just look at the rest of the video and I'll say some words afterwards. Yes, thank you very much. And then we can switch back to the slides. But what this video showed is really our aircraft and the demonstrator of our technology. So those 36 small engines, they will allow really, as you've seen, that the aircraft is really completely still within the air. So we can really balance the aircraft super well and navigate or steer our aircraft super carefully because of those individual small engines. And what you've seen was a test flight at our Munich facilities. And this is a demonstrator or a prototype for our actual aircraft. Some specs is, of course, it is all electric. As already mentioned, it has a top speed of 300 kilometers per hour and a 300 kilometers range. Then it will be a five-seater, so 1 pilot and 4 passengers. And some commercial aspects critical for success would be that the aircraft is very low noise. This has also been achieved by means of those small engines instead of big ones. So really low noise, allowing inner city takeoff and landing without disturbing the actual inhabitants or the rest of the environment. So this is a critical point, that low noise, and then of course also safety. So we will adhere to the same aircraft safety standards as commercial aircraft do. And then we can go to the next slide, which shows a recent announcement. So 2 or 3 weeks ago, we've announced a partnership with Tavistock in Florida, which you can see here on the map. And we will develop together with Florida our first regional, together with Tavistock, our first regional air mobility network in the US. So the pointer shows Lake Nona in Orlando, where we will be able to connect more than 20 million people in a radius of 300 kilometers. And the cool thing is here that it shows that the regional character of our service. And to indicate that, I want to show the connection between Lake Nona and Tampa, a little bit on the left from Lake Nona. And this has a distance of 130 kilometers or 80 miles. And we will be able to deliver that service within 30 minutes and at a cost of about $130 US. The cost or the pricing will be dynamic, so it is not that fixed. But in essence, it will be around that cost. And the cool thing is, if you compare that 30 minutes of travel with other modes of transport, you really see the difference it makes. Because by car, you would travel 1 hour and 30 minutes for this same distance. And by public transport, it would take you 3 hours. And at this point, there is no flight connection between those points because of the somewhat close distance for commercial aircraft and bigger aircraft to make this viable. So this is really cool. You see the time wins that Lilium can offer, and this is why we think Florida is a great market for us in the US to launch with. So we will build out, of course, the state over the course of time. If we can go to the next slide, we will focus more now on the infrastructure. So we call our infrastructure vertiports, and they're based on a lean and modular design to really, with the core of the design being based around the facilitation of high throughput. So if we walk through the vertiport design, we start on the right bottom, and there passengers or customers walk in, they have a short security check, and then they head to the lounge where you can chill and have a bit of a coffee, for example. But then within 15 minutes, you'll be asked to walk across the walkway on the sides of the vertiport towards the aircraft. Then the aircraft will taxi over the yellow lines towards the takeoff and landing area, and then you will take off. So this high throughput is a key element, and it's taken into consideration for the full design of our vertiports. Why is this important and really critical for our success? It's because we want our service to be priced in a fair way, so not just a premium way of traveling. And this can only be achieved once we commercialize our aircraft as much as possible. So the Lilium jets should be commercialized as much as possible. High throughput, high turnaround times allow that, and therefore prices can lower to a sort of democratic price across our service. And then also, if the service is offered very frequently, we will allow more time wins, because for an example, if you want to abort a plane to your next destination, if it leaves in 5 minutes and also in 15 minutes, it's super convenient to travel. And now that leads up to 1 million passengers that we will be able to take in this vertiport of 5,000 square meter. So really, we want to create this very frequently used service. And this results in a couple of charging challenges, right? Because high throughput means fast charging times because of the fast turnaround times. So very, very fast charging. Around a megawatt will be considered. And this means that not only the charging will be very fast, it also needs to be very reliable or robust. And then robust is not just in the equipment, but also in terms of the charging cycle. So we need to predict very well how and when our jets will be charged up to an extent that is sufficient for the next flight. And this is critical for our complete flight schedule. And okay, sure. I'm closing in as well. And the thing is, on this whole level, you see 8 parking bays, which will always be equipped with a charger. So adding up all of those very fast chargers means that we need quite a substantial grid connection. If we then go to the next slide, you see some more indication of why this modularity is critical. Yes, thank you. It's because we want to implement these vertiports all over the globe, really. So also at elevated locations. Inner city and elevated locations will be key for success. So space constraints will be a thing, but also how do we get this power on top of buildings? How can we, where do we install those big transformers, which are heavy? Can the existing building take this as a structure? These are all challenges, and if we can go to the next slide, we see that luckily we do not, as Lilium, need to solve everything ourselves. So there's a lot of industry applications that we can leverage. Electric cars, we have communication protocols already optimizing and safeguarding charging protocols. Also DC fast charging networks allow already quite efficient load balancing platforms. electric buses in terms of the fleet management, which is different from EVs, of course. So electric buses already really schedule the time of charging and the total state of charge that they need for the next route. But they are somewhat low in terms of power levels, whereas trucks really show similar charging rates and battery sizes. And then electric ferries is of course also super interesting in terms of optimizing the charging cycle and really having a dedicated A and B and traveling between that without an opportunity to charge in the meantime. And of course, there's a lot we can leverage from the aerospace industry. If we then go to the last slide, then a little bit of goal setting. What we want to work towards in the next slide is the industry standardized eVTOL charging solution. And this is something that, of course, within CharIN is a critical element as well. If we can go to the next slide, please. So the thing here is that within CharIN, there is, for example, the MCS task force, but also the high power charging task force, which are interesting movements for us to really learn from and to really apply. Yes, thank you very much. And closing off is the lowest bullet here. There is an effort within EUROK on eVTOL charging standardization. This is a new group just being kicked off. If you want to, and with this group, we really want to make that bridge between CharIN and EUROK as well, how to make sure that we work towards this high-performing charging solution for the eVTOL industry. And that's my cue. I want to thank you also, Andre, for your patience maybe, but also for the opportunity to present.
Yes, thank you very much, Emma, for that interesting project, this interesting inside view. And it was, I can tell you, when Lilium asked for a membership within CharIN, a couple of SC members were asking who is Lilium and what is the intention of them to participate in CharIN. And that was one of the, or let's say you were one of the first movers outside the pure automotive industry in joining CharIN. And it's good to have these applications and this new territories for charging system. So thank you very much for that inside view. There are 2 questions already. I will park them to the panel discussion. We do it then in a round at the end. And we give now Julien from Allianz the opportunity to present his slides. It was also a question, to be honest, in the steering committee. What is the motivation of Allianz joining? And also we are looking forward to see what your contribution and what your motivation is and how you look from an, I would say, an insurance company point of view to the charging business. And yeah, you have experience already with AXA in the connected mobility market. So charging and mobility market is not new for you, and yeah, looking forward to that. And again, the reminder to the audience, if you have questions, just drop it in the chat function. We will go through in the panel discussion area, or after the Tuesday, we are happy to answer the question. The stage is yours.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope you can all hear me well. Hello, everyone. So my name is Guillaume Lehallier. I am working at Allianz Partners since 3 years, and yeah, before that I was working for AXA. So Allianz being the #1 insurer in the world, and AXA being somewhere #2, maybe. The topic of today's presentation is to speak about insurance for electric mobility. And really to discuss about the impacts of electrification on the insurance business. When I write insurance here, it's insurance and assistance, because in the end the 2 topics are pretty much close together. And I will deep dive as well on the assistance topic, which is maybe the most impacted right now today. And this is, I think, an interesting topic for this working group and for the CharIN organization. So we can go into next slide. which is a bit of a high-level view of the Allianz Group, just to make sure that we all understand the same when I say Allianz. So Allianz is a global leading insurer in the world. It's a German-based company from Munich. It exists since a lot of years, 130 years. We have 100 million customers based in 70 countries. So we are a large corporate, and we have 147 employees across the world. We do a little bit more than 140 billion euros of revenues. This was for 2019. 2020 will be maybe similar. We'll see. And a large piece of this portfolio of these revenues are coming from what we call the motor insurance. So obviously P&C business, so property and casualty, which is a typical standard insurance. But obviously from within this P&C, let's say, group of business, there is the motor insurance, which is key for a generalist insurer like Allianz. And obviously electrification has a lot of impacts on what we do. So I will try to explain that. And these impacts obviously explain why we, Allianz, would like to be, we are part and wanted to be part of CharIN, because part of our, let's say, the future of our business is based on standards like CCS, obviously. On top of our business of, let's say, insurance assistance, we are one of the world's largest asset managers. So obviously we have activities as well in terms of asset, let's say, finance and investment topics. I will not tackle them today, but obviously there are a lot of impacts here. Beyond that, Allianz is considered as one of the leading motor insurance, as I've said, in the world, which means that we serve a lot of global OEM car manufacturer brands. Here it's written 40 car, but it's much more than that. It can be German ones, French ones, Chinese ones. Every kind of OEM, potentially we work with them to provide motor insurance to their customers. And obviously we have been investing a lot in recent years on new mobility, such as, let's say, ride hailing, car sharing, carpooling, micro-mobility, and autonomous driving as well. So these are all topics which have an impact obviously on insurance, because insurance was a lot focusing on the ownership of cars. Moving to a world where mobility can be shared, can be electrified, can be autonomous, etc., and connected, obviously this has impacts on insurance. But obviously within this, this case trend, let's say connected, autonomous, shared, and electrified, I think that the most impactful one today is electrification, because the other ones may be connected, obviously, but the other ones are a bit more emerging from an insurance standpoint. Maybe last word about Allianz. We have what we call the Allianz Center for Technology. This is a specialized center on crash tests. Obviously, this is a key topic for an insurer like Allianz, and we do that. And obviously, electric vehicles are looked quite deeply in this center. Obviously, we can switch into the next slide, which is a bit more concrete and detailed about what we have done for the electric mobility. So, as Emma said before, I cannot share, let's say, too much details on the concrete details on the offers, but we can still speak about them, and I think it's interesting to understand really what electrification means for insurance and assistance. But obviously, and of course, if you want more details, you can obviously reach out to me, and we can have proper discussions. So first, when we speak about motor insurance, so everything which is relating to mobility, we have a large number of customers. So first, we have the retail customers, obviously, so B2C customers that we serve directly with Allianz brand. This is for insurance, and for assistance, we have Mondial Assistance brand, which is the worldwide leader for assistance. But obviously, we serve as well corporates like OEMs and fleet managers. Typically, we provide insurance which can be white label and sold in dealerships. It's the same for assistance. So we work a lot with any kind of OEM, including obviously the largest ones in the world. And their, let's say, challenges around electrification is our challenge as well in the end. We work with a lot of banks, financial institutions, and with full digital players like the new mobility players, which I mentioned before. So global presence, this I spoke about. If we look at the right side of the slide, you have the 5, let's say, pieces, building blocks, value proposition, solutions that we have built around the electric mobility. This is not exhaustive because behind electric mobility there is a lot of corporate risks as well, which are popping up, which are quite new. These are not tackled here, but if we really focus on motor insurance and motor assistance, what we have been working a lot on is really what we call the EV tailored insurance. So why do we need an EV tailored insurance? It's simply because electric vehicles have a different risk profile. And this for an insurer is obviously something which is critical to understand. So we are conducting a lot of studies. Obviously, we have large portfolios of electric vehicles across the world. So we are able more and more to understand them and to understand the frequency and the severity which are typically happening during an accident, which is obviously the key information for an electric vehicle. So this helps us obviously building, let's say, the most adequate, precise vision of the risk profile of an electric vehicle that we use to price accordingly motor insurance premiums that we sell to customers, right? When we speak about electric vehicles, roadside assistance, so this I will go a bit into details just after, but roadside assistance, you know, it's the equivalent of motor insurance, which handles accidents, which are here to, you know, to take the risk of a customer and obviously to manage a situation of accidents. Roadside assistance is here to manage and to handle a situation of breakdown. So exactly the same than for insurance. We believe that we see on the ground that electric vehicles have a different breakdown profile. And this is obviously very important to understand whenever you have to assist customers on the roadside. And interestingly enough, and this is why we are part of CharIN, part of the breakdowns and part of the issues that we see on the road of our customers, again, 100 million of customers across the world, we can see that part of these issues that they have and challenges that they face are linked to the charging, let's say, to the charging situation. Whenever they are in a charging situation, this can create breakdowns, this can create challenges, and we are here obviously to assist that. But for us, it's important to make sure that the full chain is reliable and including the charging. So this is why CharIN is a very important piece for us to make sure that the full, let's say, mobility journey of our customers, including the charging, including obviously the driving of their electric vehicles, the whole journey is reliable. But sometimes, let's say, issues happen, accidents, breakdowns. So we have to make sure that the journey continuation of our customers can happen. So this is why we invest a lot on what we call the EV journey continuation. So which means providing replacement vehicles, providing the right solutions to handle the issues that our customers are facing. Obviously, when we speak about replacement vehicles, this means that we need to find replacement vehicles which are ideally electric vehicles, which is a challenge these days, obviously, because there are not so many rental companies which have EV, let's say, local rental vehicles. So this is a challenge for us. Then there is the whole topic of wallbox. So wallbox and charging station, obviously, the ones which are in the public space. But the wallbox which are at home, typically, this is a new area where you can have accidents. You can have issues which impact your home, by the way. So with strong impacts on the home insurance business that we have as well. And these wallboxes can generate breakdowns, let's say, can have breakdowns themselves or can generate breakdowns with the vehicles. So obviously, EV wallbox is an area of interest for us, and we have developed a full suite of solutions from wallbox insurance, wallbox extended warranty, wallbox assistance and maintenance. And this is a full, let's say, area of focus for us because the wallbox is a new device at home, which has an impact on home, on the vehicle, and obviously on the mobility journey of the customer. So the wallbox is a key topic for us, and this is why we have developed a lot of, let's say, products around the wallbox. And then there is what we call the EV battery care So obviously, battery is the critical element, the critical, let's say, part of the spare part of the electric vehicles. They are quite expensive, and obviously a lot of issues and specific breakdowns or accident situation can happen there. So we are obviously investing a lot as well, specifically on batteries, to make sure that we have the right coverage, the right risk profile, and that we can, let's say, protect our customers. So this is a bit globally, let's say, the solutions from a holistic standpoint that we've built to cover and to protect our customers who are owning or driving electric vehicles. But if we look at the next slide, which is a bit more focused on roadside assistance, I think it's interesting to have in mind that breakdowns are a key pain points on the global mobility journey of EV drivers and EV owners. So this is just a very high-level value chain of roadside assistance. So it's a bit of an old school slide, but it's very easy to understand, I think, which is the most important. So if we just have a look at these value chains, I mean, on this journey, so it all starts with the customer breakdown, right, on the left side. So whenever there is a breakdown, so the customer will call us for assistance. Again, just to as a reminder, we as Allianz, we own the Mondial Assistance brand, which is #1 worldwide for roadside assistance. So this is a big business for us. So whenever a customer has a breakdown, he will call us, or he will, let's say, reach out to us via apps, bots, or whatever. Then we will identify this person, and we will be dispatching someone, being a tow truck or being a technician, or someone who is able, exactly to repair what's happening on the roadside or on the ground. It can be at home as well. This is already an issue when it comes to electric vehicles, and this is already challenges for us, because when we have to dispatch and when we have to send someone to help and repair on the spot, or to tow the driver, we need to understand precisely exactly what happens. And there is a question in this exactly what happened, which is it happening only to the battery of the vehicle? Is it happening only to the vehicle itself, or is it happening to the charging point? And if it's happening to the charging point, we are a little bit in a gray zone, in a dark area, and this has an impact for us. And this is why, obviously, making CCS, charging standards a bit more reliable, obviously, I mean, the whole value chain of charging more reliable is a key, let's say, strategy for us. If we go to the next slide, which is my last one, and I'm finishing on that, which is exactly highlighting what I was just describing. So whenever there is an issue with an electric vehicle, and we are called, to solve this issue, being an accident, or not too much an accident, but let's say being a breakdown, or let's say supposedly breakdown, then there is a question whether it's happening with a charging station, if it involves a charging station, right, the wall box, or the electric vehicles. And this is important for us, because what we observe from the ground is that a lot of issues on the mobility journey happens at the charging point. And this we can see it, I mean, a lot of our, let's say, colleagues and competitors in Norway typically, so Norway being one of the best or most important markets for EVs in Europe, they will tell you the same, that the charging point and the charging station create situations of let's say, difficulties, challenges for the customer. So this is why we believe that it's interesting to have, as an industry, let's say, all the people involved on the charging station systems, standards, etc., to have a global reflection collectively on how can we improve the reliability of it. It can start by sharing data on the status of the charging points. It can be by sharing, let's say, status of the connectivity between the car and the charging station, etc., etc. But there is a whole, let's say, world to explore to make sure that we have the right visibility and that we are able to help the customer on the road with the most appropriate help. That's it for this presentation.
Thank you very much, William. Very interesting perspective and view for a more so far technology company-driven association. So thank you very much, and I would like to guide over to our panel session because there are some questions already. So maybe Emma and Edward, you can also switch your camera on so that we will be all together visible on stage. And I will directly give one question. I think it's addressed to Edward, but maybe also to Emma. There was a question from the audience during your presentations. If wireless charging is considered or an option for your application so far?
From our side, yes, we have looked at wireless charging for certain applications. Like I said, for us, let's call it the coupler. There's a large number of variables: how much berth space is available, how much space is available on the vessel. So I would say for certain, if wireless charging fits the bill and it fits within the envelope, it can certainly be an option, yes. But we don't have any projects currently running with wireless charging.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Emma?
Yes, so for Lilium, it's a bit of the same. Like, of course, we considered. There are, however, some elements that are specific to aircraft, being aircraft weight. And of course, this is already a topic for the automotive industry. I think it's less of a topic for the marine industry or Edward's business, but for aircraft, it's even more so because you, of course, have to actually go into the air. So wireless charging would only be an option if it would allow the same sort of or smaller inlet weight on the aircraft side, which is why at this point we don't think that's feasible.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you very much. There was one more question, not quite clear to whom, but maybe also to Emma on the first view. Is there any other geographical area where the project has priority or where it is planned first?
Yeah, so
you showed a map of Florida, but you were also talking about around the globe. So is there any agenda? Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so Florida is indeed an announcement that we did 2 or 3 weeks ago, which is why I wanted to share in this forum. A little bit before that, I think, 1 month, 2 months ago, we also announced a partnership with the German region North Rhine-Westphalia, which I always struggle a bit with pronouncing, but this also indicates that we will not just launch in US, but we will also have a Central European region that we want to expand as soon as possible. And of course, then we're talking about launch regions, but we're also already in the process of looking further ahead in time, looking at second phase regions to expand as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm. Also, maybe to Julien, the question, is there any specific area where Allianz is considering these steps into electric mobility, special insurance or wallbox insurance, what you mentioned, or is it a global step you are taking?
I'm not sure to understand your question. Sorry, Andre.
It's a bit the same, not from the technology point of view, but is Allianz focusing on certain geographical areas, or is it a global approach you are taking in the EV business?
Yeah, for us, the EV journey is obviously European focused, obviously because we are European focused, so it's centered in Europe, of course. But we have as well a very strong position in Asia Pacific. When it comes to insurance or assistance, we have leading position even in China for assistance, in India for insurance and assistance, etc. So these are geographies where we look at this, let's say, challenges and solutions, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Edward, maybe any specific area? You were also showing examples from Copenhagen, from Auckland, so it's a global business, right?
So indeed, ships are generally all over the world, and let's say we don't see that there's any particular limitation because of country, let's say. Of course, it's more to do with where the main drive and where the main focus is for electrification, and that's of course very regionally different, let's say. But in principle, now we see that, yeah, like we showed, it's from literally all corners of the world that we have seen these projects coming in.
Thank you very much. One more question. What is the estimated charging time in operation you are heading to? I guess also to Emma and Edward, this question.
Edward, you can go ahead first.
Yeah, sure. So from our side, it depends a lot on the application, where some applications are tens of minutes or under tens of minutes. Other applications which are not so time critical can have a couple of hours. And there's also another, let's say, level, which is night charging, where we don't need the high C rates of charging, that we are able to charge gently, if we like, while the ship are not in operation. But it depends a lot. So typically with public transport vessels, we do require high turnaround times during berthing operations. So that is fast, 10, 15 minutes, or it depends. But indeed, it can be also slower for other types of vessels.
Okay, thank you. Emma?
Yeah, for Lilium, it is of course quite determined because we will run the service ourselves. And still it is somewhat flexible because we can depend the charging time on the route length. So we will work towards an optimized system where shorter route lengths have shorter charging times. But still there is some time of on and off boarding of passengers that we will definitely have. And there's also just a maximum time span that will also be present. So at this point, we see charging times between 5 and 30 minutes as realistic. So yeah, that should be the aim, at least also for the full range flights to achieve those timelines. And this means, for example, also in terms of the charging connection, that also is an element to completely optimize, because it shouldn't take us 2 minutes or so to establish that connection, dragging, for example, the cable over to the aircraft having safety zone around it. So all quite cool challenges to solve in terms of charging.
Thank you. There's one more question to Edward. Mentioning in the presentation, you have shown a photo with a boat and 2 charging pantographs. Is this a real case? Is the question from the audience.
No, that is a render showing a concept of what such a water bus with pantograph charging could look like, and that was more to examine what are the options, let's say. So that was indeed also, for example, to examine what are the degrees of motion we will see at the different points. Worth pointing out indeed that in that scenario we have a lot of degrees of freedom. The boat is floating and moves, the pontoon is floating and moves, and they can move separately and independently. So we do see that, for example, that in some other projects we have actually implemented a mechanical lock to try and keep the ship in place. In other applications, the ship is also still pushing against the quay, for example, so that it is as stationary as possible.
Thank you very much. There was one more question in the presentation of Klaas Bracklow. There was MCS mentioned with lower than 2 megawatt, but also mentioned MCS is capable up to 4.5 megawatt, which is correct. So maybe I can answer there. For Klaas, if you would like, please.
Yes, just to show you, I listened to your presentations very carefully. It's not just jumping in the front and letting you alone. Thanks a lot for your presentation. It's so great. So I have to rethink some things. Yeah, on MCS, there is the specification and boundary condition that is to 1,500 volts and 3,000 amps. And so the reality will show us which portion of energy we like to drop out. And that goes to different market arenas, and so we see applications in the arena of 700 kilowatts, but also, and that goes especially to ships, that we are going to the limit of the specification, and the market will show us, because high energy always costs a lot of money, and so we need to create a system which is being stable. And I remember the times of CCS when we started, that was already designed for 350 kilowatt. And we had many complaints about that. What stupid technology with Ethernet communication technology and 350 kilo. Who needs that? We need it now. And so if we need it for a couple of years, we start smoothly with a megawatt, increase the portfolio, and I'm sure we will reach the 4.5 as we have already reached 450 kilowatts on the CCS system. So one is specification and norms and standards, and the other, what is the industry willing to provide, and that is mostly cost-driven and will be optimized to the purpose. And so we see the variety between, as we see from CCS, that is going from 50 kilowatt to 450. So everybody's fine with that, and so different vehicles for different applications.
Thank you, Klaas, for answering that question. Then there's one personal question from my side. So when will we have a real focus group meeting of CharIN somewhere around the globe, arriving by an electric plane, then going from the airport, which is maybe on the water with electric ferry to shore, and then using the air taxi to go to a location of a member to see growing facilities of doing that. So everyone has a part, and of course fully insured by Allianz and other partners, so it's a safe trip. When will this be reality? What's your personal opinion on that?
From an insurance standpoint, we are ready. Huh? So you can count on us.
From the electric ships point of view, I can say that in some applications that is already now, like we saw, some of these ships which we showed are actually in operation right now, and that's just Damen shipyards. There's a number of other, of course, parties in the world who are building electric ships. Like I mentioned, in the Scandinavian countries, there are already quite a number of ferries crossing the fjords in full electric mode. So it is certainly, I would say now, next year and the year after, it will be even more cities and even more places where you can reach with fully electric vessels. Of course, mostly in limited range. We're not talking of transoceanic voyages. Those are, I think, not within the scope of battery vessels. There's other solutions there for zero emissions, or let's say for greener vessels. But certainly for shorter distances, I would say now is already there.
And then from our side, it is not today. Of course, over the next years, we will have flying prototypes, and it will theoretically be possible. But before we really launch our service, have it fully certified, and have those launch locations established, we have the public launch date of 2025. Mm-hmm. Okay. But the sooner the better.
Sure, definitely. And I remember the first discussions about electromobility before CharIN was established. This always was a feeling, this is a real future thing. It's very far away, and now it's taking place, and technology is there, and we can have our every member, every participant can have the contribution to shape that market, and to have the bits and pieces ready and reliable and cost effectively. And that's great, and that's, I guess, the big advantage of this strong community. Thank you very much. There are one or two more very specific technical questions, so we will answer them, or we will pass them to the right speaker, or we will answer from a CharIN point of view. Maybe a short outlook on our second global CharIN Tuesday, which will take place or which will happen on, I guess, the 8th of December, right? And as this group is mainly driven by US members, it's a US friendly time, means a non-European friendly time this time. But as we are a global organization, we will manage that. And There will be an inside view of the MCS group. So Rustam, he's leading this group, will guide you through a bit of public or content which is public available right now to see the actual development of the MCS system. And yeah, looking forward to that. Thank you very much for participating. Thanks to our speakers, thanks to our listeners, and yeah, stay safe, and we keep in contact. Thank you very much.
Good.
Thank you. Bye-bye.